joining us today. Before we start, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little about your work?
Oh, first, thank you for having me. My name is Mariana, and I'm specialized in digital communication and how it affects human behavior. My research is more focused on how technology changes relationships and emotions.
That's an interesting field. Nowadays, we hear a lot about social isolation in the digital age. How would you define it?
Well, social isolation in the digital age is a situation where people are more connected than ever through technology, but this still feels lonely. This happens because only they have interaction often lack than emotional and deep face-to-face conversations.
That makes sense at first. It seems like we should feel more connected, but in reality, many people feel lonely. What do you think are the main reasons for this?
Well, one of the biggest reasons on how social media works is focused on the number of connections rather than the quality. Also, things like the FOMO and seeking validation can make people feel insecure and lonely.
That's really interesting. Some people say that technology actually helps create global connections and support networks. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's true that technology allows people to communicate worldwide and find support. For example, during the pandemic, digital platforms help people stay in touch. However, while it connects us a broader way, it doesn't always create like really deep and meaningful relationships.
That's a great point. So, if social media can connect and isolate people, how exactly does it contribute to loneliness?
Well, social media can seem like a world where we all socialize, but often it's just an illusion. People can have hundreds of friends or followers on Instagram, but these connections they may not be real or deep. Also, people compare their lives, their perfect image that they see online, which can make them feel like unhappy.
That sounds like a difficult cycle to break. But do you think technology could also help solve this problem instead of just causing it?
Well, definitely. One solution is to create technology that helps people to build deeper connections. For example, video calls can keep you more in touch with the other people and than rather than just texting. And also, for example, being designed to encourage real conversation instead of just scrolling your phone.
That's a good idea. Now, let's talk about digital literacy. How does it help people deal with the effects of technology or social isolation?
Well, digital literacy is very important. Knowing how to use technology, white lies, like setting limits on social media and having meaningful online conversations can really help reduce the feelings of loneliness.
That makes sense. Do you think some groups of people are more affected by digital isolation than others?
Yes, I would say older adults and teenagers are especially at risk. Older adults because they have trouble like using technology, while teenagers, although they know how to use it, often feel the pressure and the anxiety of social media.
You mentioned older adults. I imagine that for them, digital technology can be both helpful and challenging. Can you explain more?
Well, a few studies show that technology can both help making things harder for older adults, like video calls, social media can reduce loneliness if they know how to use these. So they may feel even more isolated if they can't use these tools.
That's a good point. Have there been any successful programs to help older people use digital technology?
Yeah, there are like many programs that teach seniors how to use digital tools. For example, workshops that show them how to make video calls or use social media safely and have helped to reduce their loneliness.
And what about younger people? They are always online, but how can they balance digital life with real world interaction?
As you said, finding a balance is like really important. One way is to take digital detox, like breaks where people disconnect from technology to spend more time face to face, schools and families, and also they can teach young people how to use social media in a healthy way.
That's a great idea. Speaking of digital trends, remote work and online education have become much more common. How do these changes affect social isolation?
Well, remote work and online learning have pros and cons. They give more people flexibility, but they also reduce natural social interactions. Companies and schools should organize virtual team activities and encourage in-person meetings sometimes to help people stay connected.
That's a real concern. Besides affect our social lives, can spending too much time online affect mental health?
Well, yes, using digital platforms too much has been linked to higher anxiety, depression, and lower self-esteem. Also, studies show that too much screen time can affect sleep and overall well-being.
It sounds like people really need to be careful with how they use technology. What advice would you give someone who wants to use it in more positive way?
Well, one way is practicing digital mindfulness by being more aware of how we use technology. This means setting screen time limits and also having real conversations and avoiding staring at the phone all the time.
That's great tip. But what about tech companies? Should they do something about this problem?
Well, yeah, maybe they should take some responsibility by creating features and that help people use technology in a healthy way. For example, adding tools to manage screen time encourage real conversations.
That's an interesting point. Have there been any government action to reduce digital isolation?
Well, I would say that some governments have introduced rules to promote better tech uses, like teaching digital well-being in schools and making workplace policies to support work-life balance.
Looking ahead, how do digital technology will change the way we interact?
Well, future technology will probably be more focused on immersive experience like virtual and augmented reality to improve online interactions. Also, the challenge will be making sure that these tools are really helping instead of just cutting them.
That's a great point. Finally, if some feel lonely because of too much digital use, what advice would you have them?
Well, I recommend checking on their online habits, setting limits, and focusing on real life. I would suggest taking a few breaks from screen and focusing on spending more time with people in person. It's really important to connect with others beyond social media, where it's through hobbies, exercise, or maybe just spending time with friends and family. Setting limits on screen time and making real life connection. I would say that it's a really priority that can help reduce feelings of loneliness.
Before we wrap up, let me ask, do you think the way we use technology says something about our emotional needs?
Well, absolutely. Many people use technology as a way to feel connected or to escape negative emotions. When some people is feeling anxious or bored, they might scroll through social media just to feel less alone. It's kind of emotional comfort, even if it is temporary.
That's true. I have noticed that sometimes I check my phone without even thinking, like it's an automatic. What do we do that?
Well, it is really common that our brains get used to quickly rewards and like notifications, likes, message, like things that give us like a sense of pleasure. So we develop habits without realizing it. That's why it's important to take the breaks that I was talking about and reflect on how we are using our devices.
It makes sense now. I think people forget that they can take control. They don't have to answer every notification right away.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's okay not to be available 24/7. Setting boundaries and technology can help us feel more balanced and less overwhelmed.
Speaking of balance, what role do families and communities play in reducing digital isolation?
A big one, really. Families can help each other to stay present by spending quality time together without screens. Communities can organize more events or activities that bring people together. Small things like short meals or group hobbies can make a huge difference.
I really like that idea. Maybe we rely too much on digital communication and forget how good it feels to just be with others.
That's true, technology is useful, but human connection is built through shared experience. Even something simple like a walk with a friend can be more meaningful than a chat online.
Yes, I love chat with person. I don't like chat with person. Do you think artificial intelligence and virtual reality could make digital isolation better or worse?
Well, that's a good complex questions. On one hand, we have VR and AI that could create new ways for people to connect, especially for those who are like far away. And but they also run the risk of replacing real world interactions. If people start to prefer virtual environment over real ones, that could make isolation worse.
So it depends on how we use the tools.
Yeah, totally. Technology itself isn't good or bad. It's how we chose to use it. If we use AI to support mental health, we are to bring people together, that's great. But we need to make sure we don't lose the touch with reality.
That's something we should really think about. Do you think schools should teach more about digital wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. Digital wellness should be part of the curriculum. Students should learn about screen time, healthy habits, and emotional intelligence. Just like we learn about physical health, and we should learn about our digital habits too.
That would really help people grow up with better habits. What about workplaces that can they help too?
One idea is the companies can promote healthy use, but teaching how the people how to make breaks and limiting after hours emails, a healthy work culture makes a big difference.
That's good advice for the future. Now, really for the last question, if someone is already feeling isolated because of technology, where should they start?
Well, start small. Put the phone during meals, go for a walk with a friend, join a group, or volunteer. Even on a real life connection can help the break of cycle isolation. And don't be afraid to talk to some friend, teacher, or counselor.
Thank you again for this conversation, and I think it's very important to be more in real life because a lot of people don't connect with others, and it's only with the cell phone.
Yeah.
That's old. And I learned a lot, and I think others will choose to
very pleasure with this information. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you
See
for
later.
inviting me.
Thank you.